Okay, I gotta find my nutmeg. Hold on. Here we go. Nutmeg found. Is this the right one? Let's use this one. Oh. There we go. We have started live stream off properly. We got our nutmeg grated. We got the nice warm tea and other beverages getting ready here. Let's see. Welcome into the Nutmeg Tavern. The lighting's a little different today, isn't it? Fireplace is stoked up, warmed up, empty chairs behind the bar.
Hello.
Ryan.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me in the Nutmeg Tavern. John Townsends.
I thought you were supposed to. I'm here in your. Forget it.
No, thanks for allowing me to be in my place.
There we go.
Sometimes people don't like me here.
Well, we do have
This is my
pineapples in waiting.
Oh.
And on the other side of the time vortex is Aaron.
Oh,
How's
everyone doing?
You are back there, right?
yeah, I'm back here.
Okay.
I'm just still checking some stuff out.
He's making all that time vortex stuff function properly. He is on the other side of the time vortex, so making it happen.
Here I am. Everybody's got to see me. I'm here.
He's there.
I'm working so hard I can't even.
You were just like so out of focus as the light goes through the time vortex.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all crisp and everything, and you're all fuzzy.
Somebody sent in a super chat that says a fortified wine for the barkeep.
Well,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Speaking of fortified wines for the barkeep, today we have a special test liquid. So one of our fan folks that's out in Massachusetts, David Bendixson. Actually, he's a fan of both the regular, channel, Townsends, whatever we do, right? 18th century fun stuff. Also, a 16 millimeter fan person, and I was interacting with him in 16 millimeter land, and he sent us some of his passion, right? So what he really enjoys is mead making and some other similar things to that. So he sent me, in exchange for some 16 millimeter film, which I just happen to have lying around, he sent me some of his mead, and this isn't mead, this is Nocino. So a sort of a walnut liqueur with, this is made with black walnut, not with the standard English walnut or, so I don't know. That's probably enough for my lifetime.
I like how it smells.
Yes.
It's got a lot going on in the old sniffer.
And black walnuts are like that, aren't they? That is so good. I am not a fan of black walnuts. This is really, really good. There was a suggestion of this on ice cream.
Yeah, all day. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The walnut is doing the right thing here, unlike what walnut normally does.
How much? That walnut is really coming through.
Yeah, but it's not the bitter thing that you get from walnuts, but the aroma and all that.
Do I need to try some?
Maybe.
Yeah. I'm intrigued now.
Man, that's nuts.
Can I get a little sippy?
David, this is really, really good stuff. So thank you so much for that. Ooh. And I can't wait to crack into some of that mead in the future.
Oh, so, I thought that this was a John mug, but it's not.
Is it? No. So I'm excited by that. I was anyway. Thank you, David. Let's see.
Don't move on quite yet. Aaron's got to try it.
Okay. Aaron's going to try it.
1 second.
What do you think, Aaron?
Wow.
You know what? It probably needs just one thing.
Am I getting cinnamon?
Yeah. It's
cinnamon
like
sugar?
I think it's maybe clove. I don't know.
I think clove.
It's got like those holiday spices.
Right.
In it.
Yeah. Wow.
It's really good, and it's super. It's like It's interesting and not the. It's interesting.
Yeah,
kind of way.
and not definitely in the truly complex and
because it smells like it's going to be fruity.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It smells a lot like what Cherry Bounce smelled like, but it does not taste fruity at all. But it's still really sweet and complex.
Did you say that's nuts? Everybody in the chat saying, "Oh, that's nuts," and it's a walnut.
You know, I'll bet it's got nutmeg in it, and that's why it's so good.
Oh man.
Okay. The topic for today. Do we want to get there right away or not?
It doesn't matter. I've got super chats if you want to hear from folks.
Yeah, let's
first.
do it. We'll start off with some super chats.
Let some people tell you what's on their minds.
Okay.
All right. So we already did one. The fortified wine for yours truly. Now, taco lover. Okay, let's get this party started. Time for grog. I imagine that's what the voice was like. Time for grog.
Okay.
Covision? Something for the benevolent dictator speaker through the vortex.
Who is that? Is that Aaron?
Me.
Okay.
Who else would it be?
Matthew H. Coin for the Witcher. Hey, Aaron, what's the poster behind you? Let's talk about it and convince you to release it for all to enjoy.
Well, that's a picture of Batman that my kid colored for me.
I don't
We can talk about that.
the one.
Oh, no, you don't think so?
There are Batman films out there that people can watch, right?
Come on. This one right here.
Yeah, we had I didn't tell you guys, we had a discussion in that Patreon live stream about that big poster.
Yeah, that's the first I've heard of this.
So Rachel Knight's in Super Chat. My 2-year-old likes watching you cook. Sometimes if it's over an open fire, he shouts at you, "Careful, it's hot. Mama, he needs mittens."
Too true.
John, we need to get some mittens for you. We're always looking for some kind of random scrap to grab hot stuff
I know.
with.
I know. Mittens would be helpful. Thank you.
Colin
for that.
K is in Super Chat. Tomorrow is my birthday. Happy birthday,
Happy
Colin.
birthday.
And we all know Matt isn't here to request a happy birthday from you. So I'll do it myself. Thanks. Well, happy birthday. Matt.
Poor Matt.
Matt never lets us down by failing to let us down.
It's an art form.
Mexicool says, I want to get that black walnut liquor in my mouth.
Well,
It is the yums.
yes.
Matt, 87, I think. Townsends. It is me, the infamous Matt. What?
Actually here?
We got a
You
battle.
made it.
We got a battle in the chat. I would like to wish my best friend Colin K, who is in the chat, a happy early birthday. Took the day off just to make it here in time. That's some dedication.
That is dedication.
We guilt
Matt,
trip.
you have absolutely disappointed us today by being here on time.
I think we guilt tripped him into taking work off to come to the live stream.
Pretty bad.
Matt, it's good to hear from you. I'm glad you're here.
Yes.
I'm surprised that you're here, but I'm glad about it. All right, let's talk about ships in the harbor.
Okay.
First, actually, let's talk about real quick plug for Townsends Plus.
Okay, yeah. So, folks, we talked about Townsend Plus. Was it last week? Was it just last week?
Last
So,
week.
if you're interested in checking out what we're doing over there on Townsend's Plus, you can check out the link down in the description below. It's going really well. Lots of folks have chimed in on that and signed up. And it is one of those great ways that you can support what we do. If you're interested, check out the link.
Real quick, Patty is in Super Chat, and they say, great hat today. And I was going to say, thank you for noticing. I wear it every week in the Nutmeg Tavern, and it is really a great hat. So thank you for that.
Don't feed the bear. Okay. Next. Are we ready for me to start?
Yes.
And
Let's do it. Let's do it. So we're going to talk about ships and harbors. Before I got too deep into ships and harbors, I like houses and fishing boats. There's a bunch of beautiful images taken in the 19th century, photographic images of fishing boats. This is actually, though, a nice piece of watercolor art from the 18th century of fishing boats pulled up outside of a house. Kind of what's happening in some harbors. There's amazing images. All this fishing is going on in a very, very human scale in the 18th century. Commercial fishing going on in a human scale. We've lost a lot of human scale things, haven't we? Now in the 21st century. We have something like, we're going to be looking at all these ships and harbors, and we have just had that recently, the Ever Given, right? Jammed sideways into the Suez Canal. That ship was, I can't even imagine being close to it because it was just super ginormous, out of human scale. But things are happening in a human scale here in the 18th century. This little fishing village, little Spritzel fishing boats there outside that house. Go ahead. Let's see. This is, I believe, Deptford in England, where they're working on ships. So this ship on the left-hand side with all the flags but no masts, that is being launched. That's what this image is all about. These guys waiting to get ready to launch this 2-decker, almost 3-decker. I don't know exactly. It's a biggie though, at least a 74. And there's other ships out here in the water, and it's a celebration. This is a very large undertaking, and every time you launch something like this, it's pretty amazing. You hope it just doesn't run out there and then tip over and sink, which, that'd be bad. Anyway, this is London, I believe, yes. And mid-18th century, again, not a lot of big ships in this image, but we have lots of small craft things going on in our harbor here. The bridge being built out there, across the water. We can see on the very left-hand side, and water lighters and all these small crafts that are ferrying people around, because it's one of the ways people are getting around in a city like that, where you can go faster by going out to the river and taking a small boat, getting to go places. And we see sort of middle ground. There's a Dutch vessel there because we can tell by the lee boards on it. So things are going on in that image. This is, I thought it was kind of interesting, is a Dublin harbor in the 18th century. I'll bet it doesn't look like that now. And they even put, probably what the artist thought was Irish-looking people in the foreground. I don't know if they actually look like that in the time period or not, but there you go. But a very small sort of town there, but a good number of ships out in the harbor. It's funny, some of these harbor images, you'll see the ships are just giant, enormous, out of scale to what's going on with the size of the harbor and everything. The artist is getting a little bit closer here with the ships and their size in this location. This, again, a harbor. This is Boston, right there. I believe this is supposed to be 1778, right there in the middle of the Revolutionary War time period, and it is really set up. So unlike Dublin, there you really didn't see too much in the way of kind of wharfs or quays that go out, so ships can tie up to them. To do commerce, there's a couple of nice long quays here that ships can pull up and kind of dock right there and be unloaded, and it's very, very easy to do the commerce, and it's so important for these trading places to have that. There are some places where you can only really interact with them via the small boats, like a ship would anchor or moor out a mile from shore, or even farther, and have to use boats to take their goods back and forth. there's a great explanation of that in 2 Years Before the Mast, which is early 19th century, and Dana is going out to California, and so many of the places they're interacting with there, they have to lay way out and do their trading and take the trade goods onshore and then bring the hides back through the surf and through, just rowing this goods a long way. So there we go. I picked several North American ones right up and stacked them together here. This is a chunk. This is a really, really interesting image that comes from the Library of Congress. And what's really nice about this image is there's lots and lots of pixels here to work with. They did a great scan. A lot of the stuff on the Library of Congress is just horrible, just scans that are probably 15 years old and they're not big enough to do anything with. This one is beautiful, and we have New York Harbor stretched out for us, at least what I could fit on the screen. And we've got ships, we've got small ships again, or boats plying back and forth. And we've got, maybe a man of war here. We got a couple of those because we can see they've got guns, and then other smaller trading vessels. A lot of commerce is happening down from Maine all the way down to Florida, and even out to the West Indies. Lots of small craft are trading up and down the coast. They can kind of hug the coast and go down. So a lot of that trading is happening with not giant vessels. So we get to see a lot of these smaller vessels. Let's see. This one is Philadelphia. And I was just stunned by what's going on with this Philadelphia image. I think it says something like, the view is from the Jersey Shore. And what's very intriguing, a couple different things here. Foreground, very left-hand bottom corner here, we've got this windmill out on a platform in the river there for grinding. I have no idea, but I didn't know. Number one, normally you hear about mills grinding things with waterworks, but very rarely do you hear too much about windmills in North America, although they had them. And there is one that's sort of out there in the river, which would actually be really, really handy. They probably have a lot of wind there because it's not shadowed by trees or anything like that. And you could bring the grain by boat and take away the flour by boat. And so it makes the transportation really easy. So I was very, very interested in that. And also there in the foreground and almost again on the left-hand side, there's a Dutch smallish boat there. It's even got Dutch colors and lee boards again. So it kind of says that. And I didn't know that those sort of vessels would trade here into Philadelphia in this time period. So super interesting.
You said this is in Philadelphia?
Yes.
Okay. From the Jersey side? Mm-hmm. Okay. That was really interesting. I like this one a lot.
So we've got here, I'm not sure exactly where this is at, Great Britain obviously, but we've got sort of smaller shoring vessels here. We've got a harbor, we got a large ship that's got it foggy out in the background, and then men working in the foreground. And it looks like they're either working on this ship to put a mast in it, which it doesn't have a mast in it, or it's a barge to pull along behind some other vessel. But we get a really good feeling of not giant vessels here in this circumstance. Very, very human-scaled things going on in this. And, typical sailor outfits, blue jackets, trousers, yes, but not a lot of guys. We only see the people in the boat way on the right-hand side, and then these foreground fellows. There's two pictures in a row here, should be, and this one is 1795 Mahone Harbor which is in the Mediterranean. So the British on again, off again, had Mahone. Sometimes it was Spanish. Sometimes it was British. And there's a British 3-decker. It looks like there, and a couple of 2-deckers there. It's a major port for the military, and that's a naval station there, so that they can control the Mediterranean. And we've got some nice foreground folks there.
So if it's all right, let's get to some questions for a little
Sure,
bit, and then we'll
let's do
get
it.
back to it.
Yeah.
So in the chat, we've got number one was both of these questions I think tie together. One was, what about clean drinking water? How did they go about preparing for that when they were on voyage? And then the second one was that somebody believes that even at this time, charcoal was used as a purifying filter for stream water. Didn't know if you knew the answer to that.
I have not heard too much about that. So on board ship, ships are constantly having to water. So they have to wood, they have to water. They have to get firewood for cooking fuel. If you don't have it, you can't cook your food, and sailors get pretty upset then. And then they have to have clean water, mostly for cooking and drinking, and then if they have superfluity of that, then they would use it for washing. But if they didn't, they would just use salt water, which is not very nice. But in a harbor situation like this, they would generally have somewhere up and down the coast, somewhere very, very close, they would have a watering spot. So where one of the best streams comes down, and they would go and fill their barrels up, and they would, fill up their ship's boats with their water barrels, and then fill them up, and then they might even put them inside the boats or just float them behind the boat and just drag them along back to the ship and load them up. And those barrels of water are going to get nasty really quick. So it's hard to keep that water clean, and your barrels can leak too. So you've got a lot of problems with, how are we going to keep this water both good, and how are we going to keep it from leaking out of our kegs. So it's an issue, but the idea of, and some places were known for having very good watering spots, and other places it's like, well, you can get water here, but it's not going to be very good. It might, not taste good, or it might be foul by pollution. So it's a big issue.
So somebody was wondering if the windmill could possibly be pumping a clean water supply.
Well, it could. I don't know, and it would be interesting research to find out whether that artist was. I mean, I had a feeling that sometimes you see images of Philadelphia or Boston, and they're actually done completely in Europe, and the person's just making it up from someone's description. So it's like, this is what I think Boston looks like, But that one, I don't believe is like that at all. The question would be, what kind of research we could do to figure out what was going on with that? Because it was probably something that was substantial enough that people would write about or have records of. That would be an interesting study, wouldn't it? So
how were funerals conducted on ship in the 18th century?
Well, it's definitely cultural based, and there are some of those cultures, like the French would not. They would sort of keep the bodies around. They would put them down in the ballast of the ship and bury them later. And then like the British are just going to do burials at sea. And do that little funeral service, and whoop, off they go, into the water. Depends on whether it's a civilian situation, a military situation. So there's a lot of different kind of things going on there.
All right, and then here's a gimme. What foods?
What am I giving you? This? You need that? There you go.
What kinds of foods would you recommend putting a nutmeg on?
What kind of food would I recommend?
That's a gimme now.
I shouldn't it be phrased the other way? What would you not put nutmeg on?
Right.
And I can't even think of anything yet.
All right, so this is from John Smith in Super Chat. Could you wish my wife Anne a happy birthday? It's the 13th, but early is better than late.
Happy birthday, Anne.
Happy birthday, Anne.
Early.
Hank is in Super Chat. What about 18th century recipes from Eastern Europe? I can't recall any video from that perspective.
So yeah, Eastern European. I don't think I've gotten that in that direction, mainly because that's very difficult research to do on my end, since we normally try to go as much as we possibly can with primary sources, and I so don't have primary sources for Eastern European food. So that's a tricky one.
Mike Howell's in Super Chat. John, if you go back in the 18th century to interview anyone you wanted, but you had to get there and back by taking a period ship across the Atlantic, like a really awful time machine, would you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in a heartbeat.
That was so easy for you to answer. I'm glad.
What?
I knew that one was going to be easy.
Yeah.
Sue O'Connor. So many paintings of the era have something out of perspective. Like the giant, strangely ominous bunnies, Ryan. Was it actually important to them?
Was it important? Because it was larger? The
Right,
item
yeah.
was
Are they
larger?
trying to draw focus too?
Yeah, there's I don't know. I think we're used to, in the 20th, 21st century, we're used to art for art's sake and photography, candid images, images that are meant for pure recording purposes. And they didn't do that. Their images are really there to say something. So, I mean, there's some of these, a lot of these are, like the Boston Harbor picture, that's a bit more trying to record something. But even that is really, really trying to say something a little bit more obvious than, everything we do when we do a piece of art is saying something, right? We're trying to communicate some concept here, whether we realize it or not. In the 18th century, it was a lot more blatant. And so little people or big things are really saying something in the art at the time period.
Okay, so Robin Nelson, I'm really curious about the ship culture of American-style sea shanties, whether coastal or otherwise. Do you have anything about sea shanties to say?
I don't. I wish I did have some great sea shanty info for you. It's a bit trickier to get good, interesting research on sea shanties. In the 18th century, by the time we get into the 19th century, it's a lot easier. But I'll have to. I'm rereading Dana's 2 Years Before the Mast right now, and I know he talks some about the singing and not singing on the ships. Really interesting. That it's like some places like New England. Nope, that's not happening. And then, boy, he said the Italian ship was on the California coast, and they were singing all over the place. So, yeah, there's some real differences there.
So I will say real quick that I've recently been having a conversation with Hillary Wagner from Jim's Red Pants, and they have been, because of this chat, looking into that in quite a bit. And I think that they're going to be able to help us out with that soon.
Great.
So this is from Robert Green. When did ships tend to start their voyage? I don't know what that means, though.
When did they start? Not on a Friday. But other than that, I don't know. It really, there are certainly certain times of year when, depending on where you're going to go, the weather is good for that or bad for that. So, it really depends on exactly where you're going and the seasonality of the winds in that area. So there is certainly you're not gonna try to, get to Boston when, it might be frozen solid, or the winds won't take you there.
This is in the chat. Can you tell us about cod fishing industry in North America in the 18th century?
It would be, that's a giant study and would be a great one about, because, cod fishing is going on. It's going on in a way that I don't think, we connect with today. But it would be a really good study. Yeah.
So, and then did 18th century seamen actually wear colorful sashes? would anyone on land wear one?
So, sailors' outfits tend to be very, very identifiable. Not that it's uniform or that there is a uniform, but almost like that. So you would know, oh, that guy's a sailor. He's wearing this kind of, jacket or pants, or kind of not in the way that you would normally expect them if that garment was worn by other people. He's still wearing it in a very, very certain kind of a way. Sashes, probably not British sailors, but that doesn't mean that there aren't other sort of nationalities or cultures that would be much more common.
Rose is in Super Chat. I have found some 19th century recipes for walnut ketchup. Is that a holdover from the 18th century? I'd love to see some made, plus a round of walnut grog for the barkeep and his tavern friends. Cheers.
Yeah, there's definitely walnut ketchup going on in the 18th century, but it's not black walnut. It's, again, going to be English walnut. I'm not sure how much of that comes, is happening here in North America, but there are plenty of English recipes for that. And they use like green, when they're in a kind of a green state. So we don't have a lot of English walnuts around here, so it would be a little trickier for me to figure out that one.
So Brittany Russell is in Super Chat. Cheers from Williamsburg, Kentucky.
Okay.
Today is live stream day and my birthday. Thanks for making my day better.
It's everybody's birthday. Yeah. What is going on?
Did the average person make a big to-do about birthdays in the 18th century?
Not as, obviously not as much as we do today. I think every holiday is, sort of expanded and blown up today. So birthdays aren't talked about nearly as much. I don't think they necessarily had, I think it's definitely a retrospective time for a person. Same thing, like, you get to New Year's and people kind of, recollect what's going on in the past year. I think that sort of thing is going on birthdays, but I don't think they're a big special celebration.
Sorry, I got distracted. Richard is in. Love your work. Greeting from the Hasidic city of Rostock.
Okay.
Soundwave Ghost is in Super Chat. Quick review of the internet show. A lot of documented windmills in Massachusetts. Most of the list I found shows them as mills.
Right.
And Country Girl, I think.
Okay.
Was in Super Chat as well. Oh no, this reloaded on me. You guys are crazy in Super Chat today. This is reminding me of my dad who passed away last year. He loved learning about old ships, loved history, and he is gently missed.
Yes.
Scott Williams sends in a donation. Remus is in Super Chat. New fan here. It's been refreshing to watch such content with no bias or slants. Love what you do, King.
Thank you. We do our best to bring what we can of history, although, some parts always cause trouble. So, anyway, let's go back to ships.
We could.
Oh, you have to keep going?
I've got a ton of Super
Okay,
Chats.
just keep going. It's all right.
Can you answer them quickly?
Yeah. Well,
Okay. Michael, does Josh hand polish every single pewter button you guys make? And have you ever suspected that he is enlisting the help of Mr. Bubbles?
The answer is that every single coin and button goes through Josh's hands probably 3 or 4 times. And he's not even the person who's making it. So each one of those buttons is made by someone, and they're dealing with it, cutting it off. Dan or Dave is making the buttons, and then Josh gets them, and he has to do all the finishing work. So they might be drilled. They're definitely going to be polished in multiple different ways and sanded and filed, and yeah, he does a lot of buttons.
Scott Williams, I love your products. I just got my Rev coat. Awesome.
Wow.
That's a great purchase.
Enjoy.
There's MD Smith 702 sends in a donation. John Talley, coin for the co-host. Love it when the guitarist is in the tavern. The drummer is good, but a drummer can never replace a guitarist. The drummer is still very necessary. Man, there's a bias.
It
Talk about bias.
Yeah, it sounds like some controversial stuff going on.
I really, really like when John Talley comments.
Time to move on.
Matthew H. Did they have any sort of tugboat style boat in the harbors? Did the large ships, like the naval ships, just park themselves?
Well, no, nothing barks itself. Let me tell you. Yeah, you might need no, a tugboat isn't going to be a tugboat. It's going to be somebody, you're going to have a cutter or a ship's barge out front being rowed by multiple people to bring things in if they need to, and they might even, when they're mooring a ship, it isn't always easy to just sail right up to your, mooring buoy and boom, latch onto it and you're good to go. Some action always has to happen with ships, boats, taking anchors out, veering lines out and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, not a tugboat, but done by someone.
Robin is in Super Chat. Can you guys just give a sympathy shout out to Red Logic here in the chat? They lost their beloved pit bull pet just now on their 18th birthday.
Yeah, boy, losing pets is so difficult. So sorry to hear that.
Sorry to hear that. Speed and Style Tony. Loved the 2 episodes from St. Augustine. The hospital one was very enlightening, and the lady was well versed in their history. Thanks.
She was a blast.
Jamie is in Super Chat. Thanks, guys. I need the simple life. All Fared MC, long-term watcher, first-time chatter. I love the channel. It gives you a glimpse about time and the times that no longer exist. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Matthew H. Hey, Ryan, say sommelier. Dang it! I knew I was going to mess it up. Gosh darn it. Matthew H. I can't believe you did that to me. Anyway, let's talk about ships in the harbor. Dang it.
Hey, real quick before we do, let's get these likes going in. I know we can get to 1,000.
Yes.
I believe in us. Let's go.
Okay, so David Donnelly just threw in a super chat. All great content. Also love Townsends Plus. Thanks, John. That's your segue to talk about Townsends Plus real quick, and then read Patreon.
Townsends Plus, great new platform if you want to experience what we do in just a little bit different way. Check out Townsends Plus. It's a great way to help support what we do, and we're working on it every day. Check it out. Links in the description section, right?
Aaron's going to drop it into the chat.
He'll drop it into the chat when he gets done stretching. Let's
just describe what Aaron does.
They weren't supposed to know that. When Aaron wakes up.
Let's go to the next. No, wait.
Caught the Witcher sleeping.
Before we do that, let's go to Patreon real quick. You could kick back again. So we got folks that support us on Patreon. Thank you so much, every and all you wonderful Patreon supporters. Brand new ones this week: Jerry W., Ted Fitzpatrick. This one is Cypresso, which I thought that was kind of fun. Sharon Lee Baker, Chris Huntington, Jeffrey Byerly, Jess. Okay, Suchenik, and there were some PayPal people. Daniel Bixler, Christopher Ford, Jessica Alton, and Denise Maloney Perrin sent PayPal money because she thought Ryan made great horse noises for that one video.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Denise.
So, thank you, all you folks. Patreon, PayPal, Townsends Plus, again. Now, Aaron, let's do it. Let's get back in there. Yeah, what? Okay, so we stopped at Mahone and in the Mediterranean in 1795. This is the same port, probably from a completely different view. I have no idea where. And it's 1735, and it's a whole different look to it. And we get to see all the different kinds of vessels that are so different. So we're in the Mediterranean. We have a totally different set of kinds of boats, kinds of small ships, pole acre settees. We got Xebecs here. We've got these, there's still a British man of war out there in the middle. And then we've got standard kind of merchantman way back there in the back. So we've got lots of different things going on. It would be really interesting to see if, we could find this view today and what it would look like. That's what I always think when I see any of these harbor pictures. Like, I wonder what that looks like today. This is just a sort of river scene. This is probably on the Thames with those river barges, and here's this barge, and we can't even see. We just see the backs of these two fellows, and they have the hoops over the top, and then this kind of sort of, you know, a awning draped over the top of that, and who knows what's going on in there. I just don't know. I think the last guy in the slideshow will probably give us an idea. Go ahead. Let's see, what was this? Whitehaven? Can't remember the harbor on this one, but again, Great Britain. And we've got a, you know, really the artist is really stepping back and trying to give us that recording what this is looking like in the time period. Again, wouldn't it be amazing to see if we could figure out, you know, this scene and what it looks like today. And there's a windmill down there on that one. I love this image with the little pilot boat coming out to the small man of war. This is supposed to be the Surprise frigate, 1775, I believe. And I think this is Norfolk is what it's supposed to be. Again, multiple windmills here on the coast for probably grinding grain. Again, and even the person who said that, it's like, oh, they had multiple mills and they just windmills, and they called them just mills. You can do more than just grind grain at a mill like that. You might even be sawing wood. Multiple different kind of power things you can get from those. And there's like 5 or 6 of them along there.
There it is. Audio cut out.
Audio cut out. Okay, this is London, and it's almost like there's smog already here. This image, 1795, and we've got merchantmen stacked up there. We got it looks like possibly a man of war on the right-hand side, extreme right-hand side. We got a couple cutters and smaller boats here in the foreground, working upstream or wherever they're going there, and then. I love the artist in I don't know what's in that boat in the sort of foreground here, and the dog is on there. I just think that's so much fun when the artist kind of really makes it real life, you know? It's like instead of in the parking or in the pickup truck, you know,
right?
he's there on the front of the boat.
If I lived in a place that had a harbor like this, I don't think I'd get anything done.
Yeah.
Like if I go somewhere now, I just sit and watch the big boats come in all day long.
Right.
I love it.
Like when you cross from Indiana to Kentucky and you see all the big barges
Oh,
and stuff.
geez. I used to spend so much time on the Belvedere in Louisville watching barges come through. I love it so much.
Yep. This was a fun image of an embarkation. So they're taking all the troops and putting them on the troop ships out in the offing there. And I mean, what a madhouse! All these sailors or all these soldiers getting loaded up. And there's, you know, each one of these boats, there's, you know, half a dozen, 8 sailors, maybe, probably less. They load that boat all up and row the soldiers out. And that, I mean, you can't imagine how much time it takes. Moving all those guys on shore, you know, into a boat, don't fall over, you know, don't fall in, et cetera, come, you know, take them out to the ship, load them on that, and then, you know, ferry back for another load. It's hard for me to even fathom how that works out. This was a very, very interesting image of, is it Deptford? I can't see. I think it is. So we've got a very top-down view here, the bottom 2/3 top-down view of what the dockyard looks like, and this is a military or naval dockyard. So different places to dock the ships, to work on them, and We've got sort of, slips for them and then dry dock areas for them. You're going to have different buildings there's the ordnance wharf to get your guns in, and then there are going to be different places where you will there's on one side, there's the timber pound where they're carrying the yards and things like that. But look at the ship dead center in the top 2/3. So what that is a Shear Hulk. So there are several ships over here on one side without any masts in them. And getting a mast into a ship is a tricky business. So you would have a Shear Hulk that's basically an older ship that you've torn down, ripped the guts out of, and created it into a floating crane. And your floating crane comes alongside, or you bring the Hulk alongside, and you use that crane to lift out and put back in the masts of your ships when you need to replace them. So it's a great image of what's going on there. You can kind of see what's going on in the background, ships being worked on, ships being built. There's a little close-up though, same image, and we get to see in this, it's like a border, and there's a ship in the dead center at the top and on the right-hand side that's hove down. So they've taken it and they leave the lower masts in, and they take a block and tackle to a great big sort of a fixed location on shore, and they pull the ship over onto its side so that they can scrape the bottom or work on the bottom when it's got holes in it or it needs to have its sheathing redone. And this center one even has stages off the side so that men can work on the bottom of the hull so they don't have to stand in the water. So thought that was a great image there. Here is one of the things that's going on in a harbor. So many things we've seen when they are sort of right out there exposed to the ocean. We've got a problem with a good harbor is sheltered, and you might have a man-made breakwater, and this looks like a man-made breakwater or a fortressy kind of spot here. You can see that the wind is blowing great guns out here on the outside, and the ships behind the breakwater are all snug and tidy, waiting out the storm, and then they can leave. I'm not sure if I want to be on board the one there that looks like it's about to smash into the breakwater. And more disasters at sea. Last thing you want to have happen in your wooden ship is for it to catch fire. Ugh. And here we have a ship on fire in the harbor, and lots of people, and there's not a whole lot they can do about it. Once it really starts to catch, if you haven't controlled it from the very beginning, there's nothing to do but to get out of Dodge.
All right. Is that the end here?
I think there's one more,
okay, we're
couple
close,
more.
So.
Yep. Let's keep going, Aaron. Ah, there you go. There's the end. Yes. Time to take a nap. Love that image. We don't get wonderful images like that very often. Sailor taking a nap. Probably didn't happen very often either.
Okay. Real quick, we got to go through these super chats. David and Nelly, all great content. Also, love Townsends Plus. Thanks. Edward sends in a donation. Akima's in here. Since when did the majority of American ships begin to be built in America and not in Europe?
They were actually building ships in America very, very early. They, country ships, right? So we had a lot of timber. The ships weren't necessarily known for being all that great, especially early on, and they had problems with the wood not maybe lasting as long, or at least they thought so. There's shipbuilders on one place or another are going to say, "Oh, our ships are great; their ships stink." So there was some concern about ships made in North America, but of course we had just so much timber. So I think even Peter Kalm talks about the idea of, is their oak as good as the oak that's coming from Great Britain? Really interesting talk.
John Poole, do any of you have a favorite historic-themed video game? Even though it's 1890s and fiction, I really get immersed in Red Dead Redemption 2.
No, I'm sure none of these guys have ever done that.
I don't know anything about that, but Aaron's the one
Red
to
Dead
speak on this.
Redemption 2 is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, the history and the detail in it. It's a little later than what we do, but it ties back though, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The real DJ, was there a substantial ship construction in North America, or did they get their ships from England? Greetings from landlocked Macedonia. Great content.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, so they're making ships in Boston and especially in Philadelphia, and there's a lot of shipbuilding a little bit later on, all the way up into Maine. Lots and lots of shipbuilding going on in North America.
Pickle Jars for Hillary says some paintings had a one bristle brush for details.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Queen of Your Heart sends a donation and then a donation with a comment. Is the business of the future to be dangerous? It is the business of the future to be dangerous.
Huh?
That's what her comment is.
There we go.
Robin Nelson, how many people knew how to swim in the time period? What about sailors relative to the rest of the population?
There's a lot of I don't know. I think speculation. Okay, this is hard to know. It's because it's not something that you record. You know, if we look at a biography of a person, we don't say, well, this person knew how to swim or that person didn't know how to swim. So that's kind of speculative to know. But in theory, a lot of sailors did not know how, because they would do things like put sails over the side as a great big sort of bathtub, because they knew sailors couldn't swim all that well, and fishermen too. I mean, sometimes it was like, well, if you knew how to swim, it would only torture you because you're going to drown sooner or later. So you're better to just drown right away instead of flailing around in the water for a while and then drowning. So there's some talk like that. I don't know what to say.
Truth hurts.
All right, so it's about that time. Townsends Plus.
Yeah, we're excited about what's going on with the new platform. If you're interested, check it out. There's a link in the description section, and it is just one of those great ways to support what we do, and we're having some fun over there. It's really starting to come together. So check out Townsends Plus. You got anything else over there?
That's it.
It's a wonderful Friday. So beautiful outside. I hope it's as beautiful outside where you're at as it is here. I know we're going to have at least a great evening. Maybe tomorrow won't be as nice, but I think it's supposed to rain. Doesn't matter. It's beautiful out there after having a kind of a nasty cold spring. I was in Florida a couple times for doing videos and whatnot, and we'd come back and it's all super cold and nasty. Finally, we have beautiful weather out. I hope you're going to enjoy it. I want to thank especially the Patreon people, PayPal people, the Townsends Plus folks, all the Super Chat folks, and David Bendixson for his amazing drink, and I can't wait to try out the mead.
I just had a super chat come in. Do you want to hear it?
Go ahead.
Joshua says, when they tilt the ship to clean the hull, it looks like they're resting on the bottom of the water. How do they get the ship back out to sea? Would it get stuck?
Well, you're going to do that at low tide. You're going to set that up at low tide, and there'll be times when, if it's really high tide, you won't be able to work on it, but you're going to leave it on its side that whole time. You might even wait for a spring tide. So there are tides that are higher than other ones. So you might come up and sort of set that up on a spring tide, knowing that in a month or so, you'll be able to bring the ship off again. So there are certain times, and yeah, it's not obviously he meant on the bottom of the river or the bottom of the coast is, it's going to rest on that. You did have to be careful. You didn't want to break it. It might, snap it. So yeah, lots of fun stuff to learn about fixing your ships.
All right, that's it. We're done.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ryan, Aaron. Thank you, folks. I hope you have an amazing weekend. Thanks for watching.